maybe I'm a risk taker, but I also like that stability. So I'm always looking for the risk with the stability. They kind of don't go together, but you can find it if you look for it, but you have to create it. If you're willing to get up every morning and go to work and do and learn and keep your mind, your eye on the ball and keep your eyes open and your ears open to listen, the rewards are there. You just have to look for it. And that's one of the beauties of America, I think. Maybe everywhere, but women are not good at it. That's my message. You don't have to be a man to take that risk.
Welcome to a True Goddess podcast, where we inspire you to embrace your authentic self, be healed, supported, accepted, and empowered to live the life you desired. On today's episode of A True Goddess podcast, you will be knocked off your feet with the wealth of knowledge and wisdom from our special guest, Willa Moats. Willa is a nurse who found her passion in being an independent medical rep. Together with her husband, Roger, she founded Willcare Associates, a world-class representation for manufacturers of radiology, med-surg, rehabilitation, and home care products. With over 25 years in the medical community and millions of dollars in sales, Willa brings experience and knowledge to her customers. Willa is a recipient of multiple awards such as Vendor Rep of the Year and featured in articles such as Mana and Rapporteur. You will hear the story of how she transitioned out of her nursing career by responding to the newspaper advertisement and creating the life that she desired. She shares her rules of success in decision making and her work ethic. Always dress her part from Zoom meet to trade shows to in-service. Professionalism is her company's guide. Without further ado, let's meet our special guest, Willa Moats. Willa, welcome to A True Goddess podcast. I appreciate your time, and I know we've been speaking a few times over Zoom. And can you tell us a little bit, tell me and our listener a little bit about yourself, where you grow up, and your background?
Sure. First of all, Dr. Sass, thank you for having me on your podcast, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you. So that's the fun of all this, because if you can't have fun, you shouldn't be doing it. So
exactly. Not
every day is fun, not everything is fun, but I usually try to find the fun and the humor. My name is Willa. I kind of grew into my name of Will, strong will, as we just spoke of. I grew up in northern New Jersey. And I decided, my family was a bit messed up, and I decided that I could be a better mom than my mother or my parents were to me. So I decided I would do that at an early age of 18. I was married young I fell in love and I married, and I had 2 kids by the time I was 19. I regret not any of it. I loved being a mom. I still love being a mom. I set out on a task or a journey, and that journey was to be the best mom I could be, but it was also to make sure my children were independent, self-sufficient adults. That I felt that was my job. I knew that at an early age, and that's what I set out to do. I have a girl and a boy. Present day, one went to law school. She's an attorney, but she works in the finance wealth management industry. And the other one, my son, is a physical therapist with his own business in the Seattle Northwest area. So I accomplished that, but how I got there was a journey and a story, because I did everything backwards. First I got married, then I had kids, but I had no career. And I knew early on that normal people don't get married at 18 and have it last, that I better become a self-sufficient person myself. So at 20, I discovered I always loved medicine. So I went to nursing school. Why? Because I thought at least I would always be guaranteed a job. Why? Because there's always sick people. So I went to nursing school, became a nurse, went back to school later for more classes and courses. But I started in nursing. I did love it. I worked on the night shift. I didn't sleep for days at a time because I had 2 little kids, but wound up in the operating room. I loved that too, but I worked very, very hard. I had a little bit of burnout because I wasn't sleeping. I was going to school in the same timeline there. And one day I just opened up the newspaper in frustration, just looking at the classifieds. The key word there was newspaper. We don't do that anymore. But I opened up that black and white newspaper and I saw under medical, I saw earn up to, and it was this big, 6-digit number, medical knowledge a plus. And I thought, well, I love clothes. I love to dress. We don't do that in nursing. We don't do that in operating room. And I love money and I love being out there. I'm going to give this a shot. And that was the beginning of my sales career. I walked away from nursing. I started in sales and I learned also that my big mouth served a purpose, where in nursing it got me in trouble. So I went into sales and did very, very, very well at it. But I will tell you, I knew nothing other than common sense and street smarts. Because when somebody said, did you get a PO? I didn't know what a PO was, purchase order. And that's how naive I was about business. I wasn't afraid to knock on doors. I just went out there and I did it till I drove it home. That was the beginning of an independent rep career. That meant I did not work for anyone on payroll or on a salary. I never even tried. I just was a commissioned rep. I got paid only on what I actually sold. Wow. And I learned how to expand in markets and do it that, just kind of grow. Yeah. And I just learned it as I went. There was a 6-year stint that I was found myself as the national sales manager of a small family-run radiology-oriented company. They are still my dear friends, but management was not for me. So I went back out in the field in 2000 and just started rebuilding again. I brought my husband, Roger, into the picture, and we worked together and we found what I did best, what he did best, and we went from there. It was at that point that things grew after 2001 that I hired nepotism. I hired my sister, and then at one point I had another rep out in the field. So we built a nice little thing in the geography of North Jersey, or I should say greater New York, because we covered Manhattan, Long Island, the 5 boroughs, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, which is a very tough area to have do business in.
I bet. And you coming from being a nurse and just kind of grow into that role. But your first, the decision for you to leave was that the nursing career, while it's great and everything, it's just not fulfilling for you, and the money is just not there.
It wasn't fulfilling, but it was in some regards. I shouldn't say that because I do love medicine across the board. If I had it to do all over again, which was something we never discussed, I'd have tried to go to medical school or, physician assistant, something like that. But I even don't know if that would have been rewarding for me enough. You come out of school in extreme debt now, and it's capped. You can only make so much. Sales is unlimited, and you get out of it as much as you put into it, both from a personal satisfaction and a monetary. And that's what I liked. It gave me control of my destiny or what I wanted to bring in. Nursing allowed you a certain amount of money, but back in the early 80s, all the allied health fields, I could say that even now they don't pay what you deserve, but back in the early 80s, it was significantly less, and you certainly didn't make enough to buy a house or raise a family on your own. consequently, I did wind up divorced at my own hand and have remarried to my now husband. We are now married almost 30 years. So
wow.
That's good.
That's
great. Successful. I did that, and I have a granddaughter that will be visiting me from Seattle next week, that I will take next week off and just be with her. So the message there is that what I set out to do, I actually did.
Amazing.
With being aware that I did that.
Right.
So everything thereafter was for the, there's a lot of financial, you understand that, anybody does when they're supporting and running a household, and et cetera. But there was also more of, okay, I finished with that. I finished with the college. I finished with that. Now I can travel and have fun. And I did. I traveled a great deal in my 50s for fun and for business. And I do like to travel.
Nice. I bet a lot of people love to travel, me included. But if you would have stayed in nursing, you wouldn't have the lifestyle that you enjoy and the traveling that you had.
No, I wouldn't have. But also the physical, there's probably physical wear and tear on every career or every job. But I think the nursing was more physical than anything. And I've known many nurses to retire. I have a lot of friends that are nurses that their physical being had just been beaten up, where I think I had some issues from driving a lot and traveling, carrying equipment and stuff. But I think the overall wear and tear on my body was less than getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning and, physically working all day long.
Right. The reason why, one of the reasons why I really love for you to be on our show is that just to give those women, professional, especially healthcare professional who, of course, there's a need for the people who love to be in the field, right? But for those who even, been practicing for a few years and they want to take a leap and they feel like they serve their purpose as a healthcare provider. They want to go to that next thing, and there's fear involved. And what advice would you give to those women who just too afraid to jump and to start the new career or to find new things?
Well, I think, first of all, women by nature are more fearful. We were the nurturers. We weren't the hunters, and we were home taking care of the family. And so there's a fear for lack of stability. If you leave that stable job, you're putting everything at risk, right? It's risk. In business, we talk about risk management. Well, there's self-risk too. But without the risk, there is no reward. And so you have to figure out, wait, I was willing several occasions to take that risk. I risked it when I left nursing to go out into sales, but I've also risked it. I let go of the independence to be inside a sales manager previously discussed. And then I risked it again for that stable job when I went out on my own again in 2000. And then there's also companies that I represent that either get acquired or, acquisition and merger. So you're left out, you did all that work, or maybe the company or the product or the market isn't what you like. So you walk away, you're walking away. That's risk again. Maybe I'm a risk taker, but I also like that stability. So I'm always looking for the risk with the stability. They kind of don't go together, but you can find it if you look for it, but you have to create it. If you're willing to get up every morning and go to work and do and learn and keep your mind, your eye on the ball and keep your eyes open and your ears open to listen, the rewards are there. You just have to look for it. And that's one of the beauties of America, I think, maybe everywhere, but women are not good at it. That's my message. You don't have to be a man to take that risk.
Exactly. And I'm glad you kind of bridged the conversation into, like, you don't have to be a man to take that risk. And you mentioned in one of our conversations that back then when you started to go out on your own, you will get on a plane and you would be like the only businesswoman.
Well, in the mid to late 80s. So I started in the sales, it was about 1985 or 86, around there. And there were some, I was regional at the time, but I had a rule, and that rule was if it was a 5-hour car ride, I would drive because it would be cheaper and it would be, actually at the end of the day, the same distance. If it was more than that, I got a plane. So even those regional flights were filled with men, older people, and of course vacationers. But that has since changed. I mean, we see more and more women in all the considered male professions.
Right. And then you would think nowadays it would be easier for women to step into that role, the leadership role or the business ownership role. But it's not necessarily easier for some women, right? Do you want to touch on that a little bit? I know you have a daughter also who...
Well, there's a trade-off. We still have children, right? So whether you're, whatever, I think men are more involved in parenting these days than they were when I was young, when I raised my kids. My ex-husband was very involved in parenting. I shouldn't say that, but it wasn't the norm. Most men didn't go to the PTA or stay home. So that evolved as it went. That being said, no, it's not easier because we're still moms and we still are women. See, that's the part I want to stress. Never once did I compromise my femininity or my womanhood. Never once did I say I'm not a woman. I like being a woman, and I like having the warmth and the nurturing, maternal, if you want to call it that side of me that can identify with other female customers or even male customers. That's the beauty, is tweaking that so that you can do all of that. But I think in some regards, it is harder for women to take that risk because we're, like I said, they're running the household, they're being the moms. But I did all that, and I know plenty of women that did. I know a lot of women that did just that. But today, 2023, as we sit, where 2 generations ago, it was almost unheard of. And now that's been paved for us, I think it's much more accepted than it was, and a little bit less scary because those women will be accepted in that workforce, whatever that looks like. I think it's respected amongst peers, men and women. Yes, my daughter entered a predominantly male-oriented career zone. There's plenty of women in it, plenty of successful women. She did risk by leaving New England, Rhode Island as an attorney. I said, I'm going to go into wealth management and be whatever. She did the same thing, and she's very successful and very content. She doesn't work for herself per se, but it was that risk. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say my son took that risk. He was employed as a physical therapist, and he developed a concept to be independently employed as a physical therapist where he contracts himself to modalities of physical therapy so that he can maximize that pay. There's that independence, male or woman. Right. There's always risk in that. Those come, and that I made a point of saying one of my messages is never put all your eggs in one basket, whether that's one market, one product, one company, whatever, and always be a little bit diversified in where you can make money and keep those channels and communication lines open, because I always have a backup plan in case plan A fails or doesn't feel right. I have plan B. So that's my suggestion with people taking that risk. When you go out on a limb, have plan A, B, and C just in case. Then you feel better. You're not as scared.
Right. And it's sometimes it's more of making you feel better than you're gonna need that. You probably won't need it, but it's just making you feel better. And in the long run, like you said, you never know what's going to happen. And it's good to have, invest in more than one basket. like you
in
said.
that same school of thought, there's no security anywhere, because you could be working as an employee at any level for a large firm, a small firm, and all of a sudden you get wind of acquisition and merger and your job has been eliminated. So there is no guarantee in anything. That's the way I think. And because of that, I'm like, well, why not work for myself?
Mm-hmm.
If there's no guarantee, I might as well.
Right. But you make a good point when you said there's no guarantee. When you work for someone else, you have no control. Anything can happen and you have no control over that. And when you own your own business, you have most of the control. I mean, economics and all those stuff you can't control, of course, but you get up every day and you go to work. And can you share with us a little bit about how you become successful business owner? And for so many years, you own, is it Willcare Associates.
And that I took from my name. My husband made a logo, which is not at my fingertips, but it was a butterfly at the end of the W. Mm-hmm. And that symbolized freedom, because butterflies are free. And it symbolized freedom. And that freedom was, in fact, what I gained. That was my significant reason for going out on my own, was that freedom. You have to treat yourself like you're the boss. Mm-hmm. And the employee. So it's almost like when that alarm goes off in the morning and you're tired, mm-hmm. you get up anyway. So I had answered one of your comments was I had responded to with, plan your week and work your plan, because mm-hmm. it's easy to set snooze. It's easy. Well, I'm not responsible to anybody but me. So I'll do that later. I'll do that. So you have to have some degree of self-motivation. Mm-hmm. And I set it up. I set it up before. So it may be Monday and I may say, well, I'm going to do this week. And I write it down. It goes in my day timer, in my planner, digitally, or years ago it was written, and I write it in. And then I've taken many courses on how to be, program your subconscious, on how to feel productive, things like that. So one thing I do is I write everything down, and as I accomplish that, I cross it out. What you're doing is telling your subconscious that you're successful, that's succeeded, you're done with that. And I don't let my day end until I've crossed off all those things. So even if it says, book your tickets to a meeting, mm-hmm. I get that done. Sometimes I juggle the times around. That's for the desk days. But I also have that, I function the same way out in the field. Mm-hmm. So maybe I have one scheduled appointment in the field. And I know near another customer or potential customer, I just will not let myself off the hook until I see, barring traffic and, variables, I have a little barometer, if you will, that says I have to see 5 customers in a day. And whether they're scheduled or not, sometimes they're stop-bys or drive-bys or, just drop something off. But at least I've been visible. And that was also my other that I didn't write down. I make myself very, very visible. Mm-hmm. In a market, in the area, which is the medical supply chain. That would, if I had to define it, that's where I make myself very visible. Sometimes the products change, but often,
yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and you got to get dressed every day. COVID changed everything, right? Everybody was on video, but when I had a desk day before COVID, and I had no intention of I wasn't being seen, and I still get dressed, maybe not in a suit the way I did years ago, but somewhat decently, showered, dressed, do my hair, little makeup, whatever, just because then I feel like I'm ready for business, open and ready for business. That's my personal, something I have to do every day.
Yeah, I heard that before, and I like to do that every day too, even though I work from home. When you dress a certain way, you produce a different quality of work, right? If you sit around working in pajamas, sometimes the quality of your work is just like, it's not at the level that you want it to be, right? Right.
And then we saw that change and evolve when COVID hit, where everyone was working from home. And then we had new, the virtual meetings. And so, you only had to be dressed from the hair up. And then we saw a lot of people that were turning their cameras off because they didn't want to put makeup on or be seen, or they didn't, whatever. I will take any opportunity I can in business to be seen, because that's how people remember me. I've learned to take my qualities, even if I don't see them. We see ourselves differently than other people see us. I don't necessarily see myself the way you do, but I learned to listen to what those people say. There's something to it. So I do what I do best, and I take my positives, and I'm very, very, I have a strong presence about me. Presence as in, my husband would say she means presence as in gifts. No, presence as in, I'm there. And I never understood it. I don't see it, but they tell me that. So I use that. I got to be seen. I'm much better that way than I am on the phone or email.
That's a gift. And you definitely use that to your advantage, which is what we are here to do, right, on this earth, to recognize what our gifts are and use that to benefit ourselves and to benefit others. Let me go back a little bit. You have some rules that you like to follow, whether that be in business or in life. And those rules have served you very well, and it take you the success that you have now today. Can you share a little bit of that with our listeners?
Well, some of the rules I've already mentioned. The rules of getting dressed every day, even if you're not going to be out in the field, seeing a certain amount of customers a day, even if it's not scheduled. One of the rules, honestly, between you and I don't understand why everybody doesn't know this, because they're kindergarten rules. And, the construction business, when you're trying to get something done to your house, nobody calls you back, you wonder, don't they want the business? So one of my little rules is, like I said, a kindergarten rule: show up, call back, and do what you say you're going to do, and answer the phone with a smile. Because they can hear, even if you're not on a video, they can hear a smile. If you answer the phone, Willa speaking, and you're cranky, but you go, hi, Willa speaking, they know that you feel welcome, you feel, So all of that has served me. There are a lot of things I learned when I was young from my mother, or from just life in a different time. But a lot of things were you realize them. I realized at one point I got very, very, very busy, probably busier than I should have been. And because of that, I got overwhelmed. And because of that, I was short. And when I say short, quick with people, short, that was heard as, to the ear on the other end of the phone, that I didn't want to be bothered with them. And someone pointed it out to me, a good friend. That's my support system. That I also encourage everybody. You need a support system. If it's not your family, then find it in friends. If it's not your friends, find it in other colleagues. It's not that, find it if you're religious, in your religious group, or with a psychologist. Have a support system that isn't afraid to tell you, hey, does this look bad? Yeah, you look better in a different color, or that's not, or Willa, don't be short with me, because that makes me feel like you don't want to be bothered with me. I caught that early on, and I don't do that, or I try with a great effort not to do that. My husband, who works with me, is my support system, or one of them. He talks to me about the way men process things differently than women. So when I'm upset about something in business, but that upset issue is coming from a male, he can put it into perspective for me, so that I respond in kind and not like a girl. I don't like to cry in front of people. I am a woman. I am in no way trying to be a man, but I don't think it's a good idea for us to break in front of men. When I say break, be upset, but men don't respond to tears in the way you want them to. So we do to each other.
Right.
You know?
I noticed that about, the differences in male and female in that regards, and you mentioned, especially during business conversation, you want to show up with confidence, right? You don't want to appear to be weak, even though it's okay to show emotion.
It's not weakness, but the world perceives it. And it's all about perceptions, right? How we manage perceptions. The world perceives it as weakness. Now, let me go out there and say that I am not foolproof to this. I have pride. And while I'm a tough cookie, so to speak, or so they tell me, I don't feel that inside. I've always battled it, but it was only a few years ago. And I was feeling ill. I think I had COVID at the time. And one of the companies I represent that are actually friends of mine had to adjust the territory that I was responsible for. There were many reasons for it, and I was very, very upset. I was not terminated. I still make a decent living with them, etc. But I went, I'm going to call the manager, or the owner, actually. So I did. I called the owner to battle this. And he is a friend of mine, or friendly. We know each other a long time.
Right.
And he got on the phone, and I didn't feel well, and I had a little fever. And what do you think came out of my mouth? I started to cry, and I could not control it. So it all worked out. Everything, went on, and I knew him well enough. But I was very, very upset by this, that I let myself. It was okay, but I do encourage not to, because I'll tell you why. I don't have a problem if you want to cry on me. In fact, I think we all have to let it out. That's the way women let it out. Men punch a wall, get angry and loud. This is who we are. The reason I say that is because men perceive it as girly weakness. That's why. And they don't like it, and they don't know how to handle it. So we want mission accomplished, right? We want to get the results of what we had that meeting for. If we're crying, we may not get the results, A, that we want, or B, true results, honest results. That's why.
Yeah. That's a great advice there.
And I guess all those things have given me results. My results for my business and sales is measured in dollars and cents, right? But I don't go out there every day because I want to make dollars and cents. I go out there because I enjoy what I do, and I want to bring good products to, this is my nursing side, to the people that can utilize it to make better lives for patients. And there's a way of doing it, but maybe I don't agree with all of it, but it just is. So I play along with it, or I go along with it. So I set out like that, I'm not numbers oriented. I'm not out there, I've got to make numbers this month, or I better get that $5,000 sale, or no, I don't think like that. And if I represent a company that does, I have to walk away. I recently walked away from a huge source of revenue because they had great products, but I didn't believe in the way they did business. And I couldn't conform to them. I did it for a while, and I couldn't play that game anymore because it was not who I was.
That's great. I resonate with that very well.
And on that note, I just want to say I walked away from that revenue, which was very frightening at a time in my life where, I don't want to say retirement, but a change in life. We relocated with the idea of slowing down, and retirement is on the horizon. So it was a very scary thing, but I resigned, or I walked away from it saying, God didn't take me this far to slam the door in my face now. And I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. And I do believe that there's something out there, or whatever, and that it will work out. And wouldn't you know, within 3 months, it worked out. So you have to believe. And that's also believe in yourself, believe in the universe, believe in what you're doing. When all those things go in that triangle, right, they fall into place.
Right, right. Perfectly put. Thank you, Willa, for that. And I believe that I'm with you 100%. We need to live by our values, and that's in everything that we do, right? And you put your values out there. You're not gonna represent a product that you don't believe in. And when you walk away, and I think that is very courageous. And it takes a lot of guts to stand up for a loss in revenue, especially in that time of your life when you want to save and build for the retirement, right? And I appreciate you sharing that with us.
PWH, Professional Women in Healthcare, which I believe you're a part of, Dr. Sauce.
Right, I am.
They have beautiful programs. I'm not as active in it as I used to be because I was active in another organization that took a little bit of precedence because it was more focused on not just the supply chain, but on independent medical reps. And I kind of meandered to that. You can't volunteer your time to everything. But they have a wonderful mentoring program where you mentor new women that enter the business, all of the allied health fields, respiratory tech, x-ray tech, pharma tech, pharmacist, nursing at any level. There are many places in the business world for people that no longer want to do that. A lot of it is education. Nurses go into education, and that's where and I do a lot of education. In fact, I am not a sales rep by definition, where you go in and you take that sales course and you extrapolate what the customer wants, and then you ask for the order, you detail it, and you ask for the order. No, I teach from a medical perspective what I have, and it's always worked for me. And then they either buy or they don't. If they don't, I move on to the next. But I find for me, being honest and teaching it serves a better purpose and result for me, because that's my comfort level.
Awesome.
But that mentoring is important, which is what you're set out to do. In a way, a different way, but it's just sharing. Hey, if she can do it, I can do it.
Exactly.
And we're both doing it. You could do it.
Right. And you are a great example of many nurses out there, many healthcare professionals out there, where if they feel like they're not in the environment that they want to thrive in, they can change it. They have that power.
The other suggestion I have is, whenever you want to change, you don't have to do it all at once. You can do a gradual process, right? Gradual, sometimes like retirement, I gradually am taming it down a bit. I didn't want to go from 180 miles an hour to zero. I probably will always work, but for physical health and things like that. But you don't have to do it all at once. So take a nurse who maybe is thinking of getting into education or sales or something in business outside of the realm of an acute care setting, or even a physician office, so go down to part-time hours and go into find something that you could do part-time and just see if you like it, dabble in it, work with another independent woman and see if it's something you are interested in. And I will tell you that I've seen other women, because of me, do it, or in sync with me. A dear friend of mine, if she ever watches this, Maria, she was an MA, medical assistant. She worked for a doctor's office and she was a customer. Her and a physician in New York was a customer of mine. And she got very frustrated in her job. And she said pretty much that, if she can do it, I can do it. Little different business. She went into working with patients in the same kind of market segment that the doctor was, but providing durable medical equipment to those patients. And she's had a run of it, and she's done a great job. She knew nothing. None of us have MBAs.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that you don't have to do it all at once. And I didn't do it all at once either. You gradually, gain knowledge a little bit part-time. Like you said, if you work night shift, then during the day, you gather all the information and try. if you don't try, you never know if you like it or not.
And I think life's quest is to find that balance, right? We all want that balance. How do I manage my career and my home life? How do I balance all of it? A lot of it is, something that's learned. You just learn how. One thing that I saw somebody do, I've seen a few people do it, women, that they had their calendar for their personal life with their kids, and then they had their calendar for business. And I said to that person who was, you do that. I was like, wait, whoa. How many people are you? I'm one person. Merge those two together.
Yep.
Merge those two together. Because you can't take somebody to the soccer field while you have a meeting and to try to manage it. It's too much energy. Merge those two.
Yeah.
Even if you're worried professionally, well, when you put in, you have to be on that soccer field or at that meeting personally, or at the dentist, right? I do it all the time. At 4:00 on Tuesday, you're not going to schedule anything else in that.
Exactly.
Don't do two calendars.
You schedule I schedule my gym time, schedule family time.
Right. That was the other part.
Nothing else on there. Exactly. Perfect.
And even though my husband and I work together, I found out a year or two ago that my husband felt like, I'm a very obsessive compulsive person. I own it. I use it to my advantage, but sometimes it gets in the way. So if you were to call me, Willa, we have to reschedule an appointment, and you call me at 7:00 at night, while we're eating dinner, I'd probably answer it. So it was brought to my attention, and I learned how to kind of put this down, or not check emails, or technology is wonderful, but it allows you not to go home. So that's that balance, right? You want to work like there's no tomorrow during those business hours, but you have to learn how to put that down and not give up your family time or your spouse time, your husband time, your boyfriend time. And yes, on the workout. I had to schedule, yes, I'm going to work out every 3 days a week, or go for a walk, or whatever it is. Everything gets in there. When I need things from the store, and I know that Friday around 10 is going to be a good time that I could go to the store, I put that list in that time. I have done everything I can to simplify my life. Sounds complicated, but that's my end game, is to simplify it.
Perfect. Beautiful. I love it, Willa, because me and my husband, we do the same thing, and simplify, like you said. With other people, it may look complicated because we schedule everything. We like, okay, we're going to go to the gym this time, and we're going to have family time. We're going to have date night, and we're going to have focus time. And, and we have the rule while we eat, we don't look at the phone. We just put it away, turn it off, and that's a good advice for women who want to be successful, and at the same time, you still need to be balanced.
So I totally, and it's a life. I don't expect somebody, if they were watching this and they just started their own business, this is stuff they have to learn on their own. You just take a little bit of what you heard here today, or what you hear in any seminar or any workshop or any video that you're looking at. You take a little bit, make it work for you. And even if it just stays in your subconscious and you pull it out 5 years from now, they're all things that I learned. But just to, I don't have regret. I have shoulda, coulda, wouldas. It's a little different than regret. I probably should have hired more people, but I had a little bit of a self-reliant to a fault where nobody could do it like I could do it. That was probably a fault, not a benefit. But just, you can't really see it in this. This is not a background. This is my office here in Florida. We moved everything down, but there's a wall back there. Complete wall of awards and articles. One of them I sent you. But I don't go at it because I won an award. They just came to me, obviously, because I deserved it. But I'm proud of that. I'm not embarrassed of it.
Nice. Congratulations. They look beautiful on there.
Yeah, well, you can't see them all, but they're up there. So I sent you a few pictures of them.
Awesome.
A few pictures of the articles. So It's all good. I have a satisfying career. And I think that's the key here. So what's success? How do you measure success? Do you measure it in dollar and cents? I didn't really. I like the nicer things in life. I like to travel. Obviously, I like clothes and, things like getting my eyelashes and nails done. But I mean, to a fault, I admit that, but my end game was this is what I used to say, I just want to be able to go on a vacation or 2 a year. I want to be able to have a nice house and be able, if my kids need something, be able to do that. And I have accomplished that.
Awesome.
So,
beautiful.
Let me just add to that comment. I'm extremely grateful to what I've been so freely given, and I can't keep it if I don't give it back. So that's why you and I were connected, because we both feel that way. And I want to help other people. It may not be in your own business. It may be, management. It may be just a leadership role that you're afraid to take, because you've always been the employee kind of a thing. It may be your own business, but whatever it is, whatever symbolizes that success, you can do it if that's what you want.
Wow, that's really powerful. I'm sure there's many nurses, many women out there that would hear this and said, if Willa can do it, I can do it too. And like you said, it doesn't.
I'll tell you a very funny, did I tell you this the other day? I told somebody the other day. Yeah. I was in a sales meeting where I was presenting as a manufacturer's rep to the distribution reps. And this was years ago, but they had a 2-day sales meeting. So these sales reps that I was selling to they were burned out. They were tired. They were done. You can't lock a type A up in a room for 2 days and just that they're listening there. They just want out. Yeah. So I was the last person to present to them after 2 days. And I knew they were tired, and I started to talk, and I knew I didn't have their attention. So with my name, Willa, I said, well, just remember this about whatever I was selling. Where there's a Willa, there's a way up. And they always remembered it and laughed. And I don't even think they knew what I was selling at the time, but they remembered me. So you kind of have to tweak things along.
Yeah.
Anyway, ad-lib sometimes, right? I can't script anything. I tried. I wrote this all out. I have to ad-lib it.
Yeah. It needs to come natural from you in anything that you do, being authentic. Find that real you inside and just express it all the time. And when you give away that was it the account that would pay you a lot, you were being authentic, you were being you, and it pay off in the long run, and you feel more comfortable about being that authentic you.
I have said since I made the decision to walk away just this past September, but it didn't go into effect until January. And I said, I can't tell you how many times, because I still talk a lot to other people in that area. And I still go, oh my God, thank God I don't do that anymore. It was so stressful and not worth the revenue, because I hold what I do dear and always want to be the best I can. I can't take the money and run. Like I have to do a good job. That's internal self-respect.
Yeah.
I don't think it's self-esteem. It's what I hold myself accountable the way I would hold anyone else accountable. No, I don't respect people that just say, oh, I'll take that, and then they don't do the job. They just take the money and run. No.
Right. You want to treat other people like you would treat not yourself, actually, the person that you love the most. Because sometimes we treat ourselves bad.
Well, it's funny. That's totally true. And I did that for a long time. You don't take care of yourself. There's a few things I do that no matter what, that I've always known. If I don't sleep well or eat well, I can't function. So I would never give up food and never give up sleep. I would not do that for anybody.
Great advice.
Yeah, there are times you can't sleep. Like when I always laugh, I thought it was me for years. I didn't know everybody did this. When you have to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning to get that early flight. You don't sleep the night before. No one does. So you're good for crap. So I don't try to schedule those flights. I'd actually rather go the night before because I'm just no good like that. I'm not at my best.
Right.
So little things I will not give up. We're out on the road. Taking care of myself, I guess, is the right exercise. But it's also eating right. I know my sister, actually, who worked for me for many years, and now she's working for one of the manufacturers, but she doesn't eat all day. And then she crashes and burns at the end of the day. So if I know I'm not going to have time to eat, I pack a lunch. I take that 5 minutes in the morning to pack a lunch because I have to eat.
Right. You need to feed that body.
Be good to yourself. I do.
Yeah,
it's just me. Some people don't. I do.
Yeah. I mean, one day we're going to talk about what a health nut I am.
Well, I'm not a health nut, but I am health oriented. I shouldn't say that. I want to be healthy. I want to live a long, healthy life. I get neurotic about, oh my God, I have a bump on my throat. It's probably cancer. And then I go into this horrible neurotic, I know too much, but not enough syndrome. But health nut, it's like anything else. It's a balance, right? You should see the amount of vitamins I take every day. But I'm not nuts about it. But my sister, who's one of my best friends, is, and she's an acupuncturist here by me, so she stays on me about it.
Yeah, maybe listen to her a little bit.
Was all that chemistry, and pharma is, going to teach you all that stuff, so you know how important it is to take care of yourself, and it's not just the one day. Like, I don't just have to take care of myself today. I have to take care of myself daily for the days in the future.
Exactly. Beautiful. I hate that our time is coming to an end. So thank you so much, Willa, for sharing your wisdom, your advice, and to be such a great example for a lot of women, a lot of nurses, a lot of healthcare provider out there. And before we end, I have a couple things to ask you. First, one last golden nugget. Is there anything? I mean, we talk a lot about different stuff that you give advice on, for women who want to start a business and stuff. Is there anything else? Any last thing that you want to say to our listener today?
Well, I have thanks. This is not the Academy Award where I want to thank everybody that got me here, but I do want to thank everybody that got me here because I could not do this alone. I had have great support systems, but I have a little rule. There's a lot of decisions that you have to make in life. Have kids, get married, buy a house. But then there's all the little decisions, and there's all the business decisions. Do I take this on? Don't I take this on? So I have a little rule. And that rule is not invented by me, but I do it. And that's, I ask 3 people for the advice. And if 2 out of the 3 tell me, then I go with it. But I always ask 3 people within that pertain to that. So if I want to ask about a parenting question, I go to 3 parents or 3 women, 3 mothers. If I want to ask about a business thing, I have 3 people I go to in business or that part of the business, that kind of a thing. And I'm very careful who I ask because opinions, everybody's got one. So you want to have somebody somewhat familiar with what you're doing or what you're asking about. When I made a joke in here, I said, I don't ask a smoker how to quit smoking. I don't ask somebody who does not have money, how do I save my money or invest my money? I go to somebody who's successful at doing that. So there's that. So I go to the people that are successful at whatever it is I'm looking at, and I ask 3 people, and it's always served me well.
I love that. And
they do not have to be women. They're often women,
right?
But they're not always women. I do have 2 very close friends that are men in business.
Yeah. And we talked about this before, and then you said even if at the end your decision may not match with those 3 people that you ask, but at least you ask, and then you take their advice or opinion, whatever.
Well, you think about it. There's a reason they said they responded in that way, and it makes you open your eyes and look into it. Maybe you sit on it for a little while, and maybe you ask 3 more people later after you've pondered that. But it gives you a benchmark, to make a decision. It gives you the beginning of Usually I make good decisions on my own, not always. And sometimes that changes as life changes, right? Exactly. What you want when you're 35 isn't what you want when you're 65 or 55. It changes. And that's okay. But my best decisions are not made by just me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Willa. And I asked this question to all my guests. If you have a genie in a bottle, and you were given 3 wishes, what would those 3 wishes be? You don't have to say why. What are your 3 wishes?
Well, of course, I think most mothers want their children and grandchildren to have happy, successful lives. I want the wrinkles in my face to go away. Right. Aside from that,
we can talk about that later.
No, I bet you can pay for that. But at any rate, I would say never be a victim. I would like to see the world not being victimized. I would like to see the world as groups, as people, as cultures, as sects of any kind, to be responsible for their own actions and not be a victim. None of us are victims. We play the victim role. We don't get out of life what we want. But when we play the responsible role, we do get what we want, and the world would be a nicer place. Everybody says they want world peace and love and all that. Who doesn't want that? Everybody wants that. Everybody wants health, good health for the people they love, and even for their neighbors and people they don't know. But I guess my little belief is that if you are responsible for yourself and for whatever you're responsible for and own it, that the world would be a better place. So I guess that's 3 in itself, but that would be, and that you learn by your mistakes, that you don't keep repeating them over and over again. Because my life would be better if everybody in it did all those things. See, that's how we touch each other. We're all one. So if the guy that can't drive would drive a little better, maybe I wouldn't have been in that car accident that hurt my neck. We affect everyone, and it's dramatic, and sometimes it's just minor. That's why I try to smile in the supermarket at the lady who's walking hunched over on or can I reach that for you? I had to learn that. That's, making myself responsible to help others.
I believe that 100%, and those are beautiful wishes. And
this fails, I'm going to go into politics. No, I'm just kidding.
But Willa, I have something to show you.
Okay.
I have a blue ribbon here. It said, "Who I am makes a difference."
Oh, I love it.
and I want to honor you with this blue ribbon. May I?
Yes.
We reach out through LinkedIn, and I look at your story, and I was just like, this is an amazing woman. And I just want to honor you for being that amazing woman, for being a great example for nurses, for healthcare professionals, and for any woman out there who want the life that they desire and didn't have the courage to do it. You are that great example. I want to honor you for raising 2 beautiful, wonderful kids, very successful kids, and you are a great mom. And I saw your interaction with your husband there. You're a great wife, and just overall a great human being. And
thank you, Dr.
It's going to be a virtual. May I put this on your heart? It's on the side, and it go up to the sky, point up to the sky. And there are 3 little cheerleaders up there. And when you click on them, it make a sound that go bing. It makes all your wishes come true.
Thank you.
May all your wishes come true. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you also. You're a wonderful lady doing this. And, that's all we have is to carry the message. So
yes.
Thank you for helping make that happen.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And I'm sure we'll talk again. And I would love for you to come back and share your wisdom many more times. Thank you so much, Willa.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Have a lovely day.
You too.